When Amber finally walked away from her toxic relationship, she made a silent promise to herself. Never again would she lose her peace for anyone. For months, she battled the loneliness, the self-doubt, the echo of hurtful words that stayed long after the door had shut behind her. Eventually, she signed herself up for group therapy, a decision that felt scary but necessary. On her first day there, she met Ethan. He wasn't loud, wasn't trying to impress anyone. He simply sat in the corner, hands folded, eyes distant. A man who looked like he was carrying his own invisible storm. When it was his turn to speak, his voice cracked as he shared his experience with a manipulative partner who'd slowly drained him of confidence. Their eyes met, a shared understanding passing silently between them. Over the next sessions, they gravitated toward each other naturally. First, they spoke because they understood pain in similar ways. Then, they spoke because they wanted to. Friendship blossomed, slowly, gently, the kind that doesn't demand but invites. Soon, they were going out for Sunday brunch, exchanging voice notes that lasted too long, laughing at inside jokes no one else would understand. One evening, as they walked home from his session, Ethan looked at her and said, quietly, "I know healing takes time, but with you, I feel like home is possible again." That was the beginning. From friends, they drifted into lovers, real lovers, the kind who built each other up, who shared fears without shame, who planned life not out of desperation, but hope. They decided to move into a bigger home, somewhere with sunlight and space for the future they were daring to imagine. They talked about marriage someday, not urgently, but with the certainty of two people who knew they were walking in the same direction. Months later, when Amber found out she was pregnant, they cried together. Tears of joy, relief, and this belief that life could be this kind. She gave birth to a beautiful baby girl first. 2 years later, a bouncing baby boy joined the family. Their home was full of toys, laughter, scattered baby powder, and midnight feeding chaos. But it was their chaos, their joy. It felt perfect. They were content. They were finally planning their wedding. Invitations almost ready, outfits chosen, venue booked. Just then, 3 months to their wedding, something tragic happened. The night was calm and ordinary. The children were finally asleep after a long evening of play, and Amber was folding tiny socks into a laundry basket while Ethan filled out some office papers at the dining table. Then, knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Not the knock of a neighbor. Not the knock of a friend. It was heavy, authoritative, cold. Amber's heart stumbled. When she opened the door, a group of men in black jackets stood outside. Their badges glinted under the porch light. "Good evening, ma'am. We are from the police investigation unit. We have a warrant for Mr. Ethan John. He is wanted for questioning in connection with the robbery at Starlight Bank." Her breath vanished. Robbery? Ethan? Her Ethan? She turned slowly to face him. His face had drained of every color, her hands trembling so hard that the paper slipped from his grip. "Ethan, is this true?" Her voice was barely a whisper. Before he could respond, 2 officers stepped forward and grabbed him by the arms. "I didn't do that," Ethan shouted, struggling against their grip. His voice cracked with panic. "I swear, Amber, I don't know anything about this. I am innocent. Please believe me." Amber's knees weakened. The children stirred upstairs. The room spun. "Sir, you can explain yourself at the station," one officer stated firmly, pulling him toward the door. Ethan turned his head, desperate, eyes shining with tears. "Amber, please take care of the kids. Call Barrister Sean. I didn't do this. Believe me." The door slammed behind them, leaving her standing alone in the living room, shaking violently as the horror sank in. The father of her children, her partner, her soon-to-be husband, accused of a bank robbery? She dropped to her knees and sobbed. Everything they worked for, their healing, their peace, their wedding, their future, suddenly hung in the balance. At the station,
Ethan sat across from the lead investigator, his wrists still cold from the handcuffs. The room smelled of ink, pepper, and suspicion. Detective Karim dropped a brown evidence file on the table with a heavy thud. "Mr. Ethan John," he began, calm but firm. "Your fingerprints were found on the vault door, the main entrance, and even on the office of the bank's financial director. Fingerprints that match those recorded in our system when you were hired 5 months ago." Ethan blinked rapidly. "Impossible. Yes, he worked at the bank. Yes, he had access, but this robbery happened on a Saturday, on his day off, and he was at home with Amber and the kids." He swallowed hard. "My prints being there doesn't mean I robbed anything. I walk there, I touch doors, desks, drawers." Detective Karim raised a finger. "True. But your ID card was also found near the vault, broken in half, as if it snapped during the struggle." Ethan's breath caught. "My ID? But I have my ID at home." He paused, mind racing. Did he? When did he last check? The detective slid a photo across the table. It was his ID card, unmistakably his. The same picture, the same work number. But something felt off. "I never lost my ID," Ethan said weakly. "I use it every day." Karim shrugged. "Maybe you didn't lose it. Maybe it was taken." Ethan's heart pounded. Taken? By who? Why? The detective leaned forward. "Look, Mr. John, no CCTV footage exists for that day. The cameras mysteriously malfunctioned hours before the robbery. The only physical evidence we have points directly to you." Silence. Painful. Heavy. Accusing. "I didn't do it," Ethan whispered. His voice cracked. "I am not a thief." Back home, Amber paced the living room like a lioness trapped in a cage. The house felt empty without him. Her mind replayed the detective's word from earlier. "The evidence is overwhelming, madam. There is no doubt your husband was at the scene." But Amber knew her man. Ethan was gentle. Ethan was honest. Ethan was not a criminal. The children woke up crying, sensing something was wrong. She carried them both, rocking them, tears soaking her son's small shoulder. "Daddy will come home," she whispered. But even she didn't know how. Meanwhile, in the station, Detective Karim walked back in with a file of work history. "This is interesting," he said, flipping through the pages. "The robbery happened exactly 5 months after you were hired." 5 months. That's enough time for an inside man to learn the systems, routines, and security. Ethan stared at him helplessly. "So now you think I planned it from the beginning?" Karim didn't answer. Instead, he opened another folder. "Here's the worst part. Your fingerprints weren't just present. They were present in places you shouldn't normally touch, like the inside of the vault mechanism." Ethan's body went cold. How would my print get inside something I've never opened in my life? The detective finally looked up. "That's the question. And until we find another explanation, you are the prime suspect." The story continues. Detective Karim closed the file with a soft but final thud. "Mr. Ethan John, based on the evidence before us, the prints, the ID, the missing CCTV, you are officially our prime suspect in the Starlight Bank robbery." The words stabbed through Ethan's chest. Prime suspect. He felt the room collapse around him. His head spun, his breath caught. The detective didn't shout, didn't threaten. He didn't need to. The quiet finality of his voice was worse. Ethan was moved from the interrogation room to the holding cell, the heavy metallic door slamming shut behind him. The echo rang in his ear long after the officer walked away. He sat on the cold bench, gripping his head. What if Amber stops believing me? What if she thinks I've been lying all along?
What if she leaves with the kids? What if I lose everything on top of this? The fear ate at him. Not fear of prison, not fear of the robbery accusation. Fear of losing the only people who ever loved him. Days passed. Investigations continued. Every morning, Ethan woke up with the same dread. Will today be the day she gives up on me? He replayed her face the night he was arrested. Frozen, trembling, confused. The thought of disappointment in her eyes hurt more than any metal bars. Suddenly, a guard knocked on the bars. "John, up! You're wanted outside." Ethan frowned. Wanted? By who? He was escorted from the inner cell to the outer receiving area. He braced himself for bad news. Maybe further charges. Maybe a new accusation. But when he stepped out, his heart stopped.